Hey guys, Kate from Core Wellbeing, and welcome to a very rainy, wet Sunday in Sydney. Kind of rocking the drowned rat look a little bit here, but oh well, I just really had to get this out before the day slips away. So, seeing a little bit of excitement, everyone's getting a bit of buzz around this raw milk that's now hit the markets in Australia, Sydney, and I think Melbourne a little bit as well. And as soon as I saw this, and I had people tagging me in it, and I'd previously spoken in blogs and things about how if you were to drink dairy, then raw dairy, even though it's not legal to drink in Australia, would really be the only option that I would prefer when done properly, because basically when you pasteurize milk, not only are you killing bacteria, which shouldn't be present there in the first place if the cows have been treated humanely and raised in an environment where they don't get over milked and they don't have that bacteria and that infection on their udders ending up in your milk. But also when you're pasteurizing the milk, that bacteria doesn't go away, so it still stays in the milk. So you've got all the pus and bacteria and all the gross stuff. It's just dead. So yes, your immune system doesn't react in the same way and you can't get infections, but you do still mount an immune response in reaction to it. So anyway, there's a lot of hype around raw milk, and people, I guess, have been really calling for it in health circles, and that's sort of filtered out into the general population. And now there's a company, From the Cow, is it called? And they've come and filled that need, I guess, in a way that has been legalized in Australia. I feel so like there's so many things I need to say, and I hope that I can remember to say them all. I have so many issues with this. So firstly, they've patented the technology that they use to do what they're doing to keep this raw product, a raw milk, on the Australian market. Now, let's just can we think about it for a little while? If you're talking about a whole food, a food, that Mother Nature created, that, hasn't been tampered with, you can't patent that. You just can't. And I know that's not what they've patented. They patented the technology. But basically we're saying like, oh, hey, yeah, we've tampered with this food and we've done this process to make it what it is, and we've patented that, so no one else can do it, so we'll be the ones making all the money because that's the priority in this game. It's not about health, and it's not about being a real food. It's been really messed around with. Just sorry, it's like makes my blood boil, but anyways, that seems to be the way things go, and that's what happens with products and with corporations. And they've seen a hole in the market and one that people desperately want filled, and then they've created this product. And now let's move on to the next step. It's not actually a raw milk as from the cow, or however they've been marketing it. So they're talking about it being cold pressed, which, I'm sorry, I have to laugh because I was having a conversation about this morning with a friend of mine who he works for like a cold pressed juice company, and we were talking about what cold pressed actually means. If they're cold pressing milk, it is horrific, and there's a serious animal rights issue going on. So I know they're not cold pressing it. Cold pressed is an extraction method. So when you're talking about cold pressed juices, you're getting the fruit, vegetable, whatever it is, and you're putting it under enormous pressure to get the juice from it without heat. And it hasn't been pasteurized. So basically, it's an extraction method. Let's just think about the extraction method of milk for a moment. Are we really cold pressing a cow's udder? It's not funny if that's the situation. That's really not funny. But I know that's not the situation. I know that's marketing speak. And what they actually mean to say is that it's been cold pressure pasteurized. So it's not, I think that's what it's called. I'm not sorry across the technology, but basically it's not cold pressed. It comes out of the cow normally, and then rather than pasteurizing it with heat to kill the bacteria, they're pasteurizing it with a method that doesn't involve the heat. However, the product is still under enormous pressure. So 2 issues I have with this. We don't know what that type of pasteurization does to the milk. So yeah, okay, it's killed the bacteria and they've tested the batches and they found that it can be safe for human consumption, but we don't know what it does to the proteins and the other constituents of that milk that we're consuming. We are the experiment right now, doing this technology, new technology to a food that's been around for so many years, putting it on the market and saying, oh, we've got rid of one of the bad things. We do not know what happens to the rest of it. I can't speak about that. Like, I don't know either. But what I do know is that I don't want to be experimented on. I don't want to be the one who's trialing it. And then years down the track, we say, oh, hey, whoops. Now we realize that actually cold pressure pasteurization of animal proteins causes XYZ. Who knows? They used to think that exercise was bad for you and that cigarettes were good for you. Like, we've made very many mistakes over the years, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel quite right to me. The next issue I have with this cold pressed business is that it's marketing. It's not correct. They're basically playing on a trend in society and something that people are really gravitating towards in that juice, kind of area, and they've just taken that language and applied it to something else so that people buy it and that people feel, warm towards it because they already have been exposed to that language and they associate it with health. But it's not true. It's not accurate. It's deceitful. It's marketing spiel. And when you go to their website and you have a look through, they continually use the phrase cold press, cold press, cold press. It's not cold pressed. And if it is cold pressed, if they're cold pressing a cow's udder, which I know they're not, so I'm being cheeky, but it's not cold pressed. It's just not. So for me, and I understand marketing, I understand you have to, speak in a language that's going to attract people to your brand, but I just feel like in this area of health and wellness, which is so confusing and complicated for people to understand, it's like they're preying on it's lack of knowledge that consumers have, and it's no fault of their own, it's just the way that it is. And yeah, I just feel like it's really misleading. It's inaccurate. It's just not right. So I guess the reason that they can say this is raw milk is because it hasn't been heat treated over a certain amount, of degrees, but it's nowhere near the type of milk that comes straight from the cow's udder. It's been so far removed from that. Now, when we talk about a raw milk and why it's dangerous or why it hasn't been approved for the Australian market, raw milk is fine in many overseas countries, and it doesn't mean, it's not because milk is inherently full of bacteria and bad for you and going to make you sick. It's purely down to the fact that we raise our cattle in this commercial environment in a way that is making them sick. Cows are just like other mammals. They only lactate, so they only produce milk when they're feeding young. So in the dairy industry, and I have to say as well, I come from a family of dairy farmers, so it's not like I, grown up with this strong aversion to milk. Like, my grandfather was a dairy farmer. That's how he made his living back in the day. While I don't have immediate family members now who are working in the dairy industry, they all still are in country New South Wales, and they certainly have friends and, family friends who are still in the industry. So it's not that it's not that I don't support that group of people. It's actually nothing to do with them. I can see that the issues that we have today have been brought about by big business and by the demand that we've placed on these farmers and the pressure that they get to produce a product at a certain price. And we know all this. It's not good. There's another situation that's a problem here, but I want to focus purely on from the food aspect and what we're consuming and the conditions in which we raise the cattle. That's what's creating the issue. So over milking a cow, having a cow basically being milked, they will birth a calf, the calf is taken from them immediately, and then they're constantly milked. It's completely unnatural. And if you imagined that was a woman, a breastfeeding woman, and she was milked consistently, even though she didn't have a baby, of course they're going to end up with infection, and of course they're going to end up with bacteria and poor quality milk and be an unhealthy human being, because it's basically depleting your body entirely of its stores, not to mention that they're not fed a diet that is conducive to what they would eat if they were out in the wild. There's just so many things wrong with it. So when you look at farms that are producing raw milk, and even it's not for human consumption, but they're raising their cattle in a way that is humane. They keep the calf with them. They allow the calf to feed first, and then they collect milk from the cow. There's a lot. They have to basically have a product or a cow that is well in every aspect, so that that bacteria and that risk of infection doesn't end up in the milk. So, sorry, it's turned into such a big rant. Honestly, I get so surprised by some of the things that end up on the market and what people gravitate towards and then take as gospel. And as I said, I can't speak about this from a really informed point of view. It's a brand new product. It hit the shelves on Friday. We don't have research. We don't know what's going to happen down the tract. But what I would say is, can we think about this a little bit more and not just get swept up in, again, marketing claims and labeling and all of those things that really, they're there to mislead us, because at the end of the day, these people, and especially when they're patenting something, so there's no oh, hey guys, we've come up with this way to make a better product, so let's share it with everyone. They've said, hey, we've come up with this way to make a product that fills a gap that we feel that you as a consumer want, and we're going to hold it close to our chest so nobody else can do it, so we profit solely from it. It just doesn't feel right to me. And I don't know, I'm a terrible businesswoman, so I guess that's not, the business aspect, just doesn't align with what I believe. And I feel like everybody should be doing their part to make everybody else's experience as a human being better. And I just don't feel like these big corporations are doing that. And yeah, anyway, sorry, that was the world's biggest rant. I just feel so passionate and heated about it, and I hope that's been some food for thought for you, and that I'm not saying don't buy it. If you feel that you disagree with me and it's a product that you really want to have in your life, then that's entirely your choice. But personally, I won't be recommending it, and I feel that we need to dig a little bit deeper before we just take this on as, something that's amazing for our health. And sorry, just as a final note, can we just acknowledge that by putting this product on the market, people are basically saying, oh yeah, we've realized that heat pasteurization is not good and it's creating a product that's inferior, so let's try to do this cold pressed. It's not cold pressed, cold pressure pasteurization instead. What's been going on for all of those years where we've been told that the milk that we're drinking is fine and it's raw milk that's bad? So anyway, that seems to have changed overnight and we've just forgotten about it. So let's use our brains, people, and start questioning things and not just accepting everything on face value, because unfortunately a lot of these companies, they don't have our best interests at heart. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'm sure I will speak to you soon. Bye.